Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Everyday Sewist. My name is Stephanie and I am so glad that you are here today. I have a bunch of projects to share with you, and a little later on I'm going to show you a bit of a parade of my Christmas quilts. So let's get started. First off, behind me is another one of the Bonnie Hunter mystery quilts that I have completed. This one was from 2018 through 2019, and I finished it in about 6 months or so of when it started. And this one is called Good Fortune. I decided to use Christmas colors, which was not what she had recommended, but you are free to choose your own colors when you do one of her mysteries, of course. So I chose Christmas fabrics for this one, so I thought it would be a really good time to share this one with you. By the time you watch this video, this year's mystery will have already started. The first clue comes out on November 21st of 2025. And she has already told us what she would suggest for our colors. And the fun part of it is that if you go on to Quiltville's open studio on Facebook, you will see a myriad of color palettes that people are choosing. And it's just so fun to see what everybody is going to do. For this mystery, at the moment, I can say I have been known to change my mind after the first clue comes out or at some point later. I have decided to use her color palette. Here is my bin, and she is recommending to use purples, from red purples to blue purples, all kinds of pinks and corals, a whole bunch of neutrals, and this didn't fit into my bin, an ice blue color. Now I had a little bit of trouble trying to figure out ice blue until I found a cone of iced blue thread in my long arm thread. And so I ended up pulling colors that looked like this color of ice blue, which I really like. So those are the suggested colors for her mystery this year. I will be cutting a lot of fabric coming on Friday. I'm sure that when we get that first clue, that her little Facebook group will just explode with activity and people showing and sharing what they've been working on. So if you are not familiar with it, go ahead and go to quiltville.com and you will find all of the information there. So like I said, I have my Good Fortune quilt. This is one of about 8 or 9 of her mystery quilts that I've completed. And since I didn't do last year's, I thought I would do this year's. Here is the backing of my Good Fortune quilt. I think you can see how this was pieced. I started with this very rather large, I think it's about 1.5 yards or so of fabric. And then I added this next one that says ho ho ho. And now I have a great big block. Then I added a stripe to the side, added more to the top here, and kept going around almost like a log cabin. I needed it a little bit longer, and so I added these skinny strips of fun fabrics to the top. And remember, it was 4 or 5 inches longer than it needed to be in order to be on the long arm. So when I trimmed it up, that was what was left of the strip. But I think it's a cute little addition. So after I added that, then I worked on getting my width the way I needed it to. So I added that cute ornament fabric and another merry and bright fabric to the sides. When I add a nice long strip like this, I can get at least if I have 2 yards, I don't have to use that 2 yards all as one piece. I can cut it down the middle and then have 21-inch pieces to add in different places on the backing, which is pretty much what I did with this fabric. And then I save all my leftovers, of course, and they can go on to the backings of future quilts. So I hope you liked seeing the back of this. When you have a really, really big quilt, you don't necessarily need to buy 108 wide or 118-inch wide fabric. You certainly can, and I have done that, but I am deep into trying to use up fabrics as much as possible and enjoy those pieces of fabric, whether it's on the front or on the back. So very often I will piece the backing of my quilt. I will say the one thing that I wasn't quite happy with, even though I love this quilt so much, I really expected my chain of white fabrics to pop a lot more than what they do. And on camera, I think they actually do look like they show up a bit more. So contrast is really important, and I thought I had gotten it right. However, it didn't quite show up. However, I will tell you there are some things that I did love that I added to this quilt. This one finishes at 98 by 98, so it's a queen size quilt, nice and big, and I really did want it to hang down and have a nice drop on all four sides. So what I love about it is all the borders in here. For me, it starts with this little border of neutral squares. And you may think it was tedious, but it wasn't. It was so fun to get all these little tiny squares together and have those go all the way around, because I ended up with some, unintentionally, with some fussy cutting. So there's a little deer here, there's the word pie right here, there's Saint Nick here, and so on and so forth. So I ended up that this is really, really fun to look at. Then the checkerboard border, I think, adds so much. Again, it was not difficult or tedious. It was really very enjoyable. I made a whole bunch of 4 patches and assembled those, and I'm pretty sure that's what she suggests in the directions. Next off is, I love this border, and it reminds me of mountains, and so I had to wear my mountain t-shirt today because the mountains are calling me, and I think I'm due for a trip out there. I think I need to go out to Colorado really soon and go see my son and go see the mountains. Then the green border is a nice stop border. We keep going. There's another pinwheel border. I love this pinwheel border, and I'm pretty sure that this is the one that I added. These are the things that I added that maybe she didn't have in the original pattern, because her quilts are usually not as big as 98 by 98. And then finally, I love the black border that I added onto this, just random size strips. Some of them are just my favorite black and white fabrics. And I don't know if you can, here's this little one with the rabbits. That's a cotton and steel print. When I look at it, there's so much to look at, and it was really, really fun to put together. I'm not sure I remember how big the quilt this year is going to be, but I typically add extra borders to it in order to bring it up to a bed-size quilt. So if you're interested at all in that, I hope you'll check it out. Obviously, if you start her mystery now, it's not done by Christmas. So even if you wanted Christmas fabrics, you would have all year to get it done in order to have it out for next year. So that is my quilt of the day. The next thing I wanted to share with you are a couple of finishes. I only have 2 finishes this time, but they're kind of fun, so let me show you. The first one is this little postcard quilt that I made in a workshop that I just took the other day. So I worked on it during the class, and then I continued to work on it the rest of the day, and it finishes at 8 by 10. It was such a fun project to work on, and so we already have it framed and hanging as a nice little winter scene. And I'd be really inspired. I've already got the next one in mind that I'd like to do. So I think I'm going to make another one, and I'm not sure how soon, but I really did enjoy this process. It felt very creative way to work with my stash. It certainly is not a stash buster to spend all day with just a few scraps, but it definitely got my creativity going, and I really enjoyed working on it. And that was a project that was offered through our guild. So the teacher does not teach outside of the guild as far as I'm aware. So if you wanted to do something like that, if I can find any resources, I will put them into the description box. I did use a product that she recommended called Peltex 70 and some Wonder Under in order to adhere all of these collage-like appliques to my project. So that was a wonderful little experience. I really enjoyed taking that class and hanging out with my guild friends. So my second finish, I have gotten this quilted and bound, and this was a broken dishes block that I biggie sized. So I talked about this in the last episode about how in order to make these blocks, you took a 10-inch square, 2 10-inch squares, and then you sewed all the way around the perimeter of the squares and cut it as an X. It made these nice big blocks. Let me see if I can hold this up here for you. And on the backing, I decided to do a striped backing. The binding is just this cute little print. And the quilting pattern has stars and loops, and I thought that would just be nice and whimsical. So I am really happy with that. This was one of my stash buster quilts that I wanted to work on. I've got another one started that I would like to show you as well. Let me put this over to the side. So I also, in fall colors, made this as a 8-inch block. And between the last video and this video, I wanted to try to make, and I did talk about it in episode 14, I was thinking about doing a block a day. So I actually did. I think I kept up with it pretty well. I didn't actually keep track of or mark it down. However, I know in these next 3 piles that I'm going to show you that I think I've made a pretty close to 30 blocks or so in the last 3 or 4 weeks. I made about 10 of these blocks in an 8-inch size, and on these, instead of doing it as the biggie sized ones were done with 10-inch squares and sewing around it and then cutting, I did these with charm squares. So I did these in a more traditional manner where you pair your light and your dark fabric, draw a diagonal line, sew on either side of the line, and then cut apart. And when you cut it apart, you get 2 units. So you need 2 pairs of 2 fabrics. So you have 4 squares to start with. And when you cut those apart, you get 1 block from your 4 squares. So I made a bunch of those, but since these are in fall colors, I'm going to put them away because I'm kind of done right now with working on fall projects. And it just means that when I want to pull these fabrics back out next time, I have them stored in a pizza box, that I will keep some notes on it, and when I pull it out next year, I'll have a head start on a fall project. So that was one of my block a days that I worked on. The other block a day that I worked on, and I shared this, so I had been making these tiny trees from this little paper pieced pattern. And I have 12 of these now. I didn't bring them all over, but I have 12 of these. So I have 10 of the others and 12 of these. And I have 12 of these random green scraps that I also talked about last time. I have my bin of green scraps next to the machine. And I realized these are all rather aqua green, aren't they? Blue green, not really so green. So, but that's what was in my bin. So I tried different techniques on these, randomly piecing them, and they take kind of a long time to do for me. So I didn't really feel like I ever got the flow going with these. And maybe that's why I prefer something that's kind of a log cabin style quilt. So I'm not sure how much more I'll do with these, but I'm going to keep experimenting with my green scraps for another little while before I switch over to another color, unless, you get a sudden inspiration for something and you change gears. Happens to me all the time. So if you see something on one episode, you may not see it again for a while, or it may become my new obsession. Who knows, right? I think quilting is like that. At least it is for me. So I have those little scrappy projects that I've been working on. And I do want to talk more about scraps, but I think I'll wait till the new year to really dive deeper into scraps and how I use them and store them and all those kind of things. Because by the new year, we're all probably going to be reevaluating and thinking about those kind of things. That's my report on my block a day. I didn't bring it over here. I did get my Meadowland flannel quilt all quilted and trimmed, but I haven't gotten the binding on yet, and it's big and heavy, and so I'll show that one to you next time when the binding is on it. I have another thing that I've been working on. So let me back up just a second. So these blocks and these little tree blocks I use as leader enders, stop starts, whatever you want to call them. Instead of using a scrap of fabric in between rows of stitching, I actually sew a different project, a different block. And I had talked about that before, and that was to me, the first time I heard about it was through Bonnie Hunter of Quiltville. So the blocks that I just showed you are the ones that I use as leader enders, but I did also get out a panel project. As I said I would, it just happens to be a different panel than I thought I was going to work on. So here is the project that I've been working on for the last 2 or 3 weeks. And I had it was almost all cut out, almost all. And isn't that cute? So I'm going to hang this up behind me so that I can tell you a little bit more about it. So here is my Merry Grinchmiss Christmas panel quilt. Like I said, it was mostly cut out when I took it out of its project bag. I changed the plan a little bit from after I reread the pattern. I changed the pattern just a little bit. It did always, so this is one panel square right here, this first little red border. Let's see, this little green border was part of the panel. This little red was part of the panel. And so these were all trimmed to pretty much different sizes. And the idea of the pattern was that you would add these other borders on, and then these center blocks ended up being 9.5 by 15.5. And these outer ones were 12.5 by 15.5. So somehow, some way, you needed to add borders to get it up to the same size, to the right size. These little squares are all cut at 3.5 inches. There are 5 of them between each of the blocks, that direction. And let's see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 on the big blocks, and 1, 2, 3 going on the narrower inner blocks. So all of these numbers are divisible by 3, which allows you to kind of mix and match the sizes of the blocks, the sizes of these blocks. So the trick was to add on these different borders in order to get it up to the right size. And as I worked through them, what I ended up doing is mostly adding like a 2-inch strip all the way around, and kind of resizing it and remeasuring and taking notes of that, and then figuring out how much more I needed to add in order to get up to the correct size. And usually it was another 2.5 inch strip, something like that. And it was much easier to have excess and to trim it off than it was to be short, right? So I maybe added too much here, but when I got this center section done, I wanted to make sure that I could still have at least somewhat of a green border next. So that's when I said I would resize it and trim it down and make sure that I still had at least 1 inch on either side so that I could add that second border. So it took a little fussing around with it, but I think it worked out really well. I think it's really cute. I have my binding, it's trimmed, and I have my binding all collected here, made. I just have to get it on. So I think this little red stripe, this little stripe will be very cute for the binding. So that almost is finished, and I will have that done in the next week or so. I think I will machine bind it, but instead of stitching it all down by hand, but you never know, that changes from time to time. Oh, I did want to show you one other thing. Speaking of binding, this Good Fortune quilt that I had just taken down so that I could put this other one up. Have you ever done a big stitch binding? And that was really, really fun. Let me bring that over. So I stitched the binding on to the front the way I always do. And when I wrapped it around, instead of doing a stitch that was meant to be invisible, I got out some bright red, thicker cotton, pearl cotton I think it was, in red, and I stitched the binding down by hand with big stitch. And so I really like that little detail, and I forgot to tell you about that before. So Meadowland is waiting to be bound, and this is waiting to be bound, and I have all my crumb blocks and string blocks. I've been steadily adding to my baggie of offset. Let's see, I'm over 400 of them now, and I've got them separated out by color so that when I go to lay them out, I think it'll be easier to grab them that way. As a matter of fact, I am thinking about starting to assemble this in columns while I'm doing the mystery quilt, because I don't really want to put 400 of these or 700 of these up on the design wall and then pull them down column by column. I think I could at least make these into twosies or foursies and just have a little bit less to fuss with when it comes to finally laying these out. I wouldn't even mind putting whole columns together, except that since I still have more to make, I need to be able to continually insert those new ones into the mix. So I could at least make twosies or foursies out of this and get that project a little bit farther ahead as I'm making the mystery. What else am I working on? My next thing that I'm going to pull out, and I have some fabrics pulled for it, are these cute trees. And I think this was called Patchwork Forest. I think it was a free tutorial where you would take two fabrics and lay them on top of each other and chop, switch the centers around, and end up with these cute trees. I think I'd like to make a couple of placemats. And here's my other set. If I could make sets of 3 and then end up with a total of 12 trees, then I should be able to make some cute placemats for December. Because I have my long arm, I would back them all with the very same fabric and keep that fabric all as one big cut, one big piece of batting, and lay those 4 placemats down on there and just get them quilted all at the same time. So that shouldn't take much time at all. The other option would be to do some quilting just on top of the batting without the backing to save myself from having to bind them. Then I could put my placemat right side up, my backing face down, sew around the edge, leave an opening to turn, and then flip it right side out. So I might do that if later. I haven't decided yet, but that would save me from doing a whole bunch of binding. And it's a placemat, so I'm not going to go over the top with trying to fuss with it, because I've still got a couple of other Christmas gifts to finish and make. What about you? Are you still working on Christmas gifts? I will be for a little while, and I'm not going to show those to you because the people who are going to get them might be watching, and I don't want them to see them ahead of time. So I will not share any of those projects until after they are gifted. So with that, I think I would like to show you no, I'm not going to do the Christmas parade yet. Hold that thought. I'll do that in a little bit. A couple of other things I said I was participating in. And one of these is through Facebook, and it's a potato chip swap. And I mentioned it last time, but I thought I would show you what I am sending out to people. The people on my list of 10 swappers are going to get this selection of teal fabrics. Teal is our color for November. I've got my chips already cut, and I just need to pop them into the envelopes and send those out. So that's a really fun little thing. If you haven't done a swap before, it's not that I have to make anything with these. I'm just cutting up my fabric, swapping them with 10 other people. And when they send me their 20 chips, their 20 different pieces, then I have an increased variety of the teal fabrics in my collection for my next potato chip quilt. That's the second month that I've done those, and that's been really fun. And then the other thing I mentioned last time, and I'll just pull these out. One of the people in the next swap said that she wanted some I Spy fabrics. So I went into my little bin, and I've got this cute little pile that I'm going to send to her, and I have to get that stuff in the mail too. And I have a few other little piles like this. So I think that's a really fun thing to do. It gives you some new fabric if you've asked for something. This swap could be for anything that you want, because it's called Get Your Quilty Wishes Granted, and that one's on Instagram. I think it's pretty much over now. I think people are not requesting. I think it's for people who are a little bit late getting their swaps sent out. But I happen to have this one still left to send, so I thought I would show you what that looks like. I don't think it will cost much, maybe an extra stamp or two if I can fold these down into a small enough envelope. So it won't cost much to mail those out to her. And if she gets responses from a lot of people, she'll get a lot of different I Spy fabrics. That'll be really fun, give her something fun to work with. Then that leads me to a couple of the things that I have purchased lately. I thought I'd share with you some of the fun things that I've gotten. When I was making this quilt, I stopped in at one of my local shops, and I was meeting up with somebody there, and I found another Dr. Seuss panel that I thought would be really fun to work on. I don't think I am going to do it as an advent calendar. I think I just want the center section of that, and I will do something with it like what I did with my Halloween panel, and just add some borders and just have some fun with it that way. So that's one little thing that I bought. And then you're going to think I'm really weird and crazy for this one, but I decided, I ordered this from a shop that's not too far away from me. Anyway, I'm recently into this thing on aliens, so I thought that this would be really, really hilarious as either just a quilt that I could make with Minky on the back, and as a lap throw for one of my family members who I think will really like this and get a kick out of it. So I'm going to probably do something with that really soon. And then for that same individual, I also bought this panel, which a friend of mine, Jane, had made into this most adorable pillow, and I got to see her pillow on our last sew day. So I had to get one too. So I'm gonna blame it all on her. And that's what quilting friends are for, right? You go and you sew and you spend half your time looking up, searching for, and buying the things that you see your friends working on. So anyway, I'm going to make a pillow using 2 of those squares. So actually, I guess I could make 2 pillows. That will hopefully get made sometime before Christmas. We'll see. I'm not sure if that will get done or not, but I'm going to try. And then the last thing that I got was for me. This is a fat quarter bundle of Catnap by Ruby Star Society. So there's this cute cheater panel, and how cute are these? These are my favorite kitties. And this, more kitties, polka dot. So we've got it in pink. Love those little apples. Look how sweet those are. I have no idea what I'm going to make with it, and that wasn't the point. I actually did see a free pattern that they gave out for this bundle. If you ever want to see the free patterns, they're usually right on the website. So this would be, I think if you just went to rubystarsociety.com, you would find some of the free patterns that were designed with this. But I love the moon and the stars. By the way, if I can pop up a picture, a week or so ago, we got to see the northern lights very faintly from our own street, right standing in my own driveway. I couldn't believe it. I've been wanting to see the northern lights for a very long time. I read about it, and they said pretty much what time to look outside. We kept checking as the night went on, kept checking, and got my camera out on my phone, and lo and behold, the sky was a brilliant pink and with some green flashes through it, and I never thought that I would get to see the northern lights just right here in my own neighborhood. So even though I'd still like to go to Alaska or somewhere where I could see them in even more of a spectrum of color, it was so exciting to see that. If you were looking on Facebook that evening, tons of people had posted photos from where they lived, and so it was really exciting and fun to see people from all over the country sharing their photos of what they could see, mostly I think out their back door. I think that I don't know too many people who went somewhere to go see it. They were just like me, they were in their own neighborhood and getting to go outside and see it. So that was really, really fun. So there's my cute little catnap bundle. Got distracted there while I was showing you that and had to tell you about the northern lights. So those are a couple of things that I have purchased lately, and that should keep me busy for a little while. And if I make something with them, I'll be sure to show you what's going on. I want to show you some of the Christmas quilts that I have made over the years. And if I remember the name of the pattern, I will tell you. If not, you'll have to look in the description box, because that means that I had to look it up and figure out where it came from and see if I had any pattern links for you or anything like that. So let's show you. So of course the first one that I have here for you, I don't remember the name of the pattern. Isn't this cute? A little chain. The chain is in the same red and white fabric the whole way. And you mix in that chain into a bigger 4-patch. Some of the 4-patches don't have the chain and some of them do. So if you are really clever, you could probably figure it out from just looking at it. I'm thinking I cut these at 3.5 inches. And so that means that these were cut from 2-inch strips or 2-inch squares, however you like to do it. So I really like this one as a throw size. And I just picked a really soft, snowy, icy blue for the backing. Thought that looked really nice with it because I like the pops of the little bit of blue in there with the green and the tans, and so it's pretty soft looking. It was quilted with a Baptist fan variation called Baptist Clam because these fans go face like right side up. They're straight up, and usually on a Baptist fan it's angled this way, and on this one they're straight up. So that's a really nice throw size quilt. And I have a couple that are smaller too. So I made this cute little one with a whole table runner with a whole bunch of scraps. I think this pattern was called Spare Charms, but I'm not sure because I think you can start with a charm square if you want to. Got the backing. Here's that same cute little red stripe for the binding, which I'm going to use again for my Dr. Seuss quilt. And it's just quilted with some stars and loops in it. So if you think you'd still like to get a project done for Christmas, maybe you have time for a table runner. So I'll try to find the name of that one and put that one in. This was really fun. I remember making this. I went on retreat in Shipshewana a couple of years ago with my friend Julie, and we had a great time. It was in November, I think, when we went. And again, these are all based on 3.5 inch squares. So if you wanted a smaller wreath, cut all your squares at 2.5 inches. If you wanted a larger wreath, try going to 4.5 inches. If you wanted it bed size and wanted to add some borders on it, that would be also really, really cute. So I have a really lovely selection of neutrals, several drawers full of low volume fabrics. So I had a lot of fun digging into those and pulling out all of these neutral fabrics for the borders. I think I may have made it 1 row wider, but I don't quite remember from the pattern. And I'm pretty sure this was a free pattern, but I'll have to find it for you and put it in the notes below. Then here's another small one that I did. And this one was, I believe, a sew along with the Fat Quarter Shop. I'm pretty sure I made that a couple years ago. And quilted with an orange peel. And I used some of my favorite fig tree quilts, fig tree fabrics with it. Maybe you can see the quilting on it better here. this was a really fun one to make. I really enjoy making these picture blocks like this. I think those are really, really fun to make. So this kept my interest and was fun to pick out the fabrics for it. Another small one, and this one I did not make. This one I bought at a quilt auction at my guild, and I had never made a Dresden plate, but now I don't have to. Well, actually, I like it so much, maybe I will make some. But I thought she did a really nice job, really fun little table topper. Here's another table runner. Made this one a couple years ago. This one did come from a pattern, and I will have to get the name on that for you. Red on the back. Really cute quilting design on this. It's called Midnight Sparkle. Really pretty quick and easy to make. I enjoy having that one out. Now the next one is not so quick and easy, but I really, really like it. And this one I remember was from a sew along by Temecula Quilt Company. And it was a mystery quilt, so we did not know what block we were making. If you had told me I was making a Burgoyne surrounded, I may not have jumped in on it. But it went together really well, and I really, really like it. And Cheryl at Temecula Quilt Company also likes tiny pieces. So, lots of tiny pieces. And on the backing, I just chose what I thought would be a lovely kind of Christmas pine tree fabric, and the quilting design kind of gets hidden in there, but it's berries and mistletoe, holly leaves, like that. So this one is called Garden Box. I remember the name of the pattern on this. I made it 2 or 3 years ago, and I used a collection of fabrics by Tula Pink called, I'll have to think about it, but it had this wood grain in it. It had this really cute deer print in it. But then I mixed in a bunch of other fabrics that I really liked with it. So lots of red and green and just a mix of fabrics from my stash, all from my Christmas bin. It was not hard to make at all. You have that center block, you have some strip sets, and you make the 4 patches, and the block goes together really easily. And I decided on this pale blue sashing to kind of break up the blocks a little bit. In the pattern, she had you using the same fabric as what you use in the blocks, but I just wanted to change it up a little bit, and I think it just adds a little bit of interest. So that's what it looks like if you don't use the same fabric for your background and your sashing. And it's quilted with a design that's kind of a novelty design. It has a Christmas tree in it, and ornaments and stars and a candy cane. Just some cute motifs that are pretty large, because since these blocks are large, I can use a design that is also has some larger images on it, and you still get to see them. On the back of this one, just chose this cute Santa print, and same binding as the backing. I do that fairly frequently because I have trimmed the excess from the quilt. So if I can use that extra backing fabric right away for the binding, and if it works for the front, It's a nice way to carry that backing right across into the front. But it is a separate piece of fabric. I did not wrap the back around to the front and stitch it. I trimmed the quilt, cut strips, and then folded those strips in half for a traditional double fold binding method. There you have it. There is my quilt parade for this year. Believe it or not, I still have plenty more. And so if you come back next time, I will share another half dozen or more Christmas quilts with you again as we get ready to enjoy this holiday season. I hope you have a wonderful holiday season with friends and family, whether you can get with them through any social media, Zoom, phone calls, letters. I hope you will find some people that you would love to get in touch with and continue that tradition of staying in touch over the holidays. So I want to thank you so much for being here. If you have not already subscribed, I would love to have you subscribe to my channel. And of course, that means I want you to come back and join me again next time. Leave comments in the comments section if anything has sparked an interest for you. I do know that I want to talk some more about how I piece my backings. Barbara had asked a question about piecing backings. I answered her in the comments, but I also thought that sometime early in the new year, I would do a little section on how I piece my backings. I also want to remind you that every Wednesday I put out a short video in the shorts section of YouTube. You find that on your own homepage, or if you're in my channel, there are videos and there are shorts. And so I show you a lot about what's going on my long arm these days, and tips or tricks that I have found to be really helpful, really useful to me. So check those out if you haven't looked at shorts before. They are less than 3 minutes, so it doesn't take you long to go through those and look and see what's going on. So again, thank you very much for being here, and please come back and join me again on my next episode. So goodbye from the Everyday Sewist.